You're now kicking it with Brother Smalls, and we're live here at New Rock in New Rochelle, New York, at Regal Cinema with the director of the new documentary, Chicago, America's Hidden War, Pastor Demas. I want to give a special introduction to Pastor Demas. He's just a wonderful individual, and I'm so excited to be interviewing him. Pastor Demas is a passionate believer and has dedicated his life to bringing healing and hope to the most tumultuous conditions and environments. He is the author of Street God, the explosive true story of a former drug boss on the run from the hood and the courageous mission that drove him back. He's a co-producer of the powerful and redemptive documentary, Emmanuel, the untold story of the 9 victims and survivors of the Charleston church shooting that took place at the historic Mother Emanuel AME Church in Charleston, South Carolina. He's an advocate, truth teller, and freedom fighter. Today, we're going to talk about his new documentary. Yes, today we're going to talk about, it's good, it's all right. Today we're going to talk about his new documentary film, Chicago, America's Hidden War. He's the director of this powerful and gripping film alongside his lovely wife and co-producer, Tiffany. How you doing?
Oh man, great. Just great to be with you, and what an exciting week, you know, being here in New Rochelle and just seeing the response to the film has blown me away.
No, it's good stuff. Chicago, America's Hidden War. Tell us about the film.
Well, you know, one of the things that inspired me to even do the film was this is such an untold story. I remember being in Chicago while Chicago led the nation in homicides, had more killings than Afghanistan and Iraq war put together, and I didn't know that. And to be living in America and not know that this type of killings are going on just was really, really hard to even factor in my mind. So I was like, no, this can't go on. You know, the world needs to know about this. Our nation needs to know about this so that we could do something about it as a country, instead of just allowing black and brown people to just continually be murdered at such a genocidal rate.
So it was almost like once you learned about the plight of Chicago, you felt like you had to tell the story.
No, at first we were going down there for 2.5 years thinking about how to minister and how to help churches and nonprofit organizations do what we did in New York City. New York City became significantly better from when it was the murder capital. And then a Hollywood producer approached me and was like, I want to do a movie about what you're doing in Chicago. And then after the first try, some people I find give up after trying things once. So he was like, yo, can you get a bunch of investors together and we'll talk to them? And we called the meeting, and it was a very low turnout because of the location that we picked. And then he was like, I think I'm gonna do another movie. And then I really felt like the Lord started to speak to me like, this is not for him to do it. It's for you to do it. And I've had a lot of those moments with God throughout my life where I was giving away jobs. Like people approach me, hey, I have this job. And I'm like, I have a friend that's perfect for it. And then my wife, who the Holy Spirit speaks through a lot, would turn to me and she's like, that job's not for him, that job is for you. And I had to start realizing, wow, some things we're called to do. And it was very clear early on that this is what the Lord wanted me to do.
Wow, that's interesting because you go to the places that are chaotic. I mean, you were in Charleston, South Carolina during the horrific church shooting at Mother Emanuel Church there. You've gone to natural disasters. You've been at the front lines in Minnesota with the George Floyd killing. What drives you to these places?
A long time ago, I realized the earth is not as big as we want to make it. And I remember being at the earthquake in Haiti. And while I was down there on day 3, helping to save people's lives, we turned these minivans that we had into ambulances. And we would meet cases. I mean, one guy's head was split wide open. I mean, and we had to squish his head back together with fluids running down the back of his neck, and we wrapped his head up and we put him in the car. We drove him to safety. I remember the doctor was like, if he was walking around for 1 more hour, he would have been dead. And then a girl with a broken femur, which was the #1 killer in World War II, was people having shattered bones inside of them. And I realized that while we were serving in Haiti, the story that was being told on the news was trying to demonize the Haitian people, was trying to make them look like animals. When we had them in orderly fashion lined up, hundreds of people that we were, feeding and helping. And I just said, from this point on, I'm not going to believe the news, but from this point on, we're going to be a part of making the news and serving. So after that, if there's a shooting and we feel really passionate about it, we'll fly there, we'll drive there, we'll go there to serve the needs of the victims and not assume that somebody is doing it. We just don't assume somebody's going to do a great job at that when most people just don't. Yeah.
Do you think that you're especially equipped to do that? I mean, like, some people have different perspectives, different calling, so to speak. Do you think that not everybody is going to, they might see something on TV and say, oh, wow, but they don't kind of get up and say, we got to get there. Do you think you have something innate that just, drives you to do those things?
I really don't. I think that through responding to Haiti was one of the first ones that I think really opened my eyes. I think the big enemy today in our culture is apathy. People are more concerned about their personal toothache than a whole tsunami wiping out, 40,000 people. That's the times that we live in. We've normalized this stuff. So I think by, a lot of prayer, meditation in Jesus, let me just be clear, yes, and separating myself from the world a lot, it just gets you really in tune to care again, to love again. And I think we're in a society where a lot of people don't love deeply. Wow. That's why divorce comes so easy. Breakup in friendships come so easy. Doing nothing comes so easy, But and I think, America's addicted, to youth, to comfort, and to self-satisfying, taking care of oneself, over-serving ourselves. And I think that's a big problem. But when we unplug from that, it helps us to be a different person.
And turning a blind eye, right? Because, if you kind of go like this and you go like this, I don't want to, see no evil, hear no evil, right? Then, you don't have the same responsibility to get involved, And the great thing about this film is that, once you see the film, you can't walk out of the theater and say you didn't know. You didn't know. This was an amazing accomplishment to bring this war that's going on in America to the masses.
Yeah, and even to prove the point that you said, I did the two things I did on purpose. I brought into the film a young lady named Bonnie Kate, who was a gunshot victim at the Aurora movie theater shooting of The Dark Knight. She was walking with crutches. I brought another woman with us named Rose Simmons, who lost her father at Emmanuel AME Church, and she suffers from a leg ailment where she can't walk properly. I brought a white man with me who's upwards in his 70s, named Ron Hall, who did a movie called Same Kind of Different as Me. And all of us went out to the drug blocks. All of us talked to gang people. All of us walked into the worst projects. Because I said, I want no one to have an excuse to be able to be like, this guy's like some mini Superman, and that's what he's able to do. Yeah. I think sometimes calling is important, but to speak in a religious kind of complex, we stretch that so far out that nobody wants to be a disciple. Everybody wants just the pastor to do everything. Everybody wants just the leader to do everything. When we all have the Holy Spirit that can do a whole lot of stuff if we allow him to do it. So I feel like when we go out into missions or anything for God, he will give you the super suits you need. He will give you the spirit that you need to do the very thing to fulfill that task. And so it saddens me that people do so little today. That anybody that does something seems like they do a whole lot.
Right. So, talking about doing something, in the film, you go on a 40-day hunger strike. I mean, that's personal. Talk to us about that.
I felt like I've been on every media outlet in the country, from Good Morning America to CNN, ABC, I mean, you name it. And when we started reaching out to talk about Chicago, most of them just blew it off. They were like, you know, we cover it all the time. Yeah, people get shot there, they die there, and you know, and that's what happens. I mean, it's real. That must be one of the hardest jobs in the world to me, to be a news reporter. Because imagine the apathy that you have doing that, seeing that kind of, you know, horrific things every single day. So I felt like maybe if I dropped in weight, maybe if they saw me coming close to death's door, you know, or something like that, that maybe they would report about it. Yeah. That's the only thing I felt like I had the power to really do. I can't force news to cover anything. I mean, this movie's been out. We get some major coverage, but not nearly what we'd have. We had the money to throw at them, you know. But so sometimes if we don't have the resources, it's like, okay, well, you know, maybe they'll care enough about me coming close to death. I mean, you know, once you hit past 40, 42, 43, your body is starting to live off itself. I mean, I was operating where my body shifted from food to living off air, you know, processing air. And doctors can break that down better than me, but I could feel it like a side of the searching for food was done in my body. It was like, you're now on a trajectory towards towards meeting Jesus, you know, really, you know, you start to feel that as you're journeying, as you're walking. So I just hope that that would inspire people, and it didn't do it at the time, but hopefully it's doing it now as the film is going out.
Wow, no, I definitely was inspired. You know, I saw the film twice. I'll see it probably another couple of times, or at least another time with my sons. I brought a friend to the movie, and I didn't warn him, but I was already packed. I had my tissue with me. I mean, I was just, you know, I don't know how you can watch the film and not be impacted, you know, by it. I was just crying like a baby in the movie theater. And interestingly enough, I wanted to talk to you about the impact and what you talk about as far as illustrating and depicting what goes on in Chicago and the impact it has had on children?
You know, I've been shocked how many, number one, children really like the movie. Has been, just beautiful. But seeing what other kids are living through has been blowing kids away. I mean, there's a scene where a young boy, sincerely, this was not staged, he looks and sees bags of clothes and he grabs them and says, my family can use these, and picks them up and takes it all the way home. I mean, we have footage of following him all the way home and meeting his parents, which was so just raw and amazing. And then, kids just feeling unsafe, that they, one kid has decided he is safer when he sleeps underneath his bed
that blew me away.
than on top of his bed.
That blew me away.
And we have some interviews with him talking about that. It's because he sees the bullet holes in his house from stray bullets. And they all were around the line of his bed. So he felt like by being on the floor, he doesn't have to worry about that. I mean, this is what's going on in our country that should never be allowed. And I hope by exposing this, we'll rally some people to fight, to stand up and care about a city that's not their own. Yeah.
No, it's truly it's a tragedy, and I know that the next day and the next day, I woke up and there was birds chirping, but I also thought about the kid in Chicago that, my experience of peace and not hearing gunshots was something foreign to them.
Yeah.
And how tragic is that their normal is gunshots and bullet holes in their homes. It's
a normal that I don't think we've really even experienced that hardly anywhere in New York, except for, my guess is Do or Die Bed-Stuy, I used to hear was like that. But for the most part, the beefs in New York were very all about the drug block. It was all about these two dudes trying to get at each other. It wasn't like a whole city almost feeling like it's on fire. That's what's so profoundly different. Like the whole South Side feels like, it was dangerous.
So what's the solution? What's the solution?
That is a very complicated question. I think number one is there are about 1,500 shooters, and there's more of us than there are of them. And I think if people would take the time to try to pull some of those young brothers out of that life, quite honestly, this problem could be solved. And even in the midst of those 1,500 shooters, there are leaders that egg it on. You know what I'm saying? And when you remove those leaders, like I've seen in many neighborhoods, it stops the motivation for others to shoot and kill. Yeah. So in Chicago, there has to be a very targeted approach to reach these shooters, to engage them, to help them get out of that lifestyle. And then there's a whole social and cultural issues that exist there of no cooperation with police. I mean, I was told stories of people being killed, the mother there crying, the murderer is sitting right there, and she won't even tell the cops that's the guy that killed my son right there, because she's so committed to not cooperating with the police. So it's a lot of deep stuff on a whole nother level in Chicago of years of the mafia culture leading there, the Daley family, which was the mayors that historically has been proven they were connected to the mob, and so many other things of corruption that has gone on in that city. So it's a hard way to go. Yeah.
The other thought I had regarding the film is repentance And during the film, you have a lot of the OGs, the older gangsters, right? That they're still held in high esteem. And my question to you is, did you see a different side of them after the cameras were off?
No. Those guys were operating as if there were no cameras there. They were fully being themselves. And I think, there's a large population that believe that gang life is still the right life.
That's why I led into that question, because I wanted to ask if there was any contrition, because in my analysis, there's something that has been unleashed in that city, and if folks are not like repentant, hey, I was a part of something that really is causing a destruction to my community, to my city. Did you see any type of heart towards or any contrition to that lifestyle?
No. I think they were upset that innocent people were being killed, but not to the point that the gangs should be totally dissolved. So I think they still it's so ingrained in many guys' identities that I think they still perpetuate that going forward for more people to be involved. And that's what I find is really, really sad.
And I think one of the things is that's a root cause, because there's a scripture in Proverbs 17:13 that says, if you call evil good, evil will not depart from your house. Yeah. And so that's true for a house, that's true for a community, that's true for a city. If you call evil good, you invite evil. And so there has to be at some point, a severing of that and somehow, because you can't continue to invite evil and say, what's going on? I mean, one of the ministers, I think, in the movie started to get at that, where he was talking to exactly what you're talking about. You know that your son has a 45. You know that your son was out at 3 o'clock in the morning. You know that your son has a tattoo, and he's not a part of a gang.
But I have a little sensitivity to that one point, because a lot of our African American mothers defend their sons all the way to the end. I know. Well, my son got to that fight, but he ain't started. So it's unfortunate that is the reality, but yeah, that went down just the way it is, and sadly enough, that's still happening today.
In the film, you talk about the power of forgiveness. I wanted to talk to you about the power of love to address the violence in Chicago.
Yeah, I think forgiveness and love really coincide together, and it's really hard, I would say, probably for the guys engaged in the shooting, just turn around and be like, I love the guys that killed my friends. I think that's a harder step to do without the help of God or some divine inspiration. But what we try to get people to do is to say, all right, if you stop shooting them and you let us talk to them about stop trying to shoot you, like maybe we can do some kind of ceasefire. Somebody has to take the first step to let things go. And I think over time they start to think about, this is my brother, I'm killing my brother. We want to wake them up to some kind of consciousness, to that kind of place. But it's very difficult. It's very, very challenging And we need some kind of special inspiration for that.
You know, when you talk about love, I saw a lot of love in the movie. Like you said, you know, love for the people that have fallen before them. But I also saw love between sisters and brothers, love between mothers, love for sons and daughters. And so, as a thought, you know, do you love your mother enough to stop? Do you love your sister or brother enough to stop? Do you love your daughter or your son enough to stop? You know, do you have enough love for them, you know, to stop? And because I think love is the way, and love is gonna, like you said, it's intertwined with forgiveness.
Yeah, it's we hope, you know.
Yeah,
we hope.
yeah,
I have great hopes for the city, and you know, we really got to serve. So I think some people have to see that love demonstrated.
Right.
You know, because what's sad is a lot of communities, a lot of people are raised not in loving environments.
Right.
You know.
Right.
Pain, poverty, hurt. You know, sometimes that kind of frustration pours out into the kids.
Yeah.
You know, unfortunately.
You actually mentioned it in the film how war is brutal. War is, you know, so you know, in a war, it's just heinous. It's brutal. It's nothing to write home about, you know. And wow, such an impactful film. I mean, I can talk to you all day about this film and the impact. But I wanted you to tell our viewership how they can see the film and how they can support the people. Support the people that are doing the work on the front lines.
Yeah, I would just encourage you. Please go to chicagoshiddenwar.com, chicagoshiddenwar.com, and that'll direct you to places where you can find the film, where it'll be playing, and where you can view and how you can get involved. So it's a blessing. Thank you so much for just even taking time to have me on your show, and I just appreciate you so much, man. It's
I got one more question for you, though.
Yes, sir.
Will you come back on the show?
Oh, we'd be honored to come back.
All right. You heard it, America. Pastor Demas said he'll be back on the show. Thank you so much for kicking it with Brother Smalls. Go see Chicago, America's Hidden War. All right? Until next time, peace and love.
Informs, uplifts, and elevates, and inspires, takes you higher. Say it again.